Well, ومنفس قدوس عدو أملاك باسم الآب والولد ومنفس قدوس عدو أملاك باسم الآب والولد ومنفس قدوس عدو أملاك. Amen. Give thanks, blessed love. Yeah, blessed love on this Sabbath. Give thanks. The weather out there is torrential here in the southwest of England. Storms. Do you know what I mean? They've got danger warnings. Our Sabbath gathering at Fairfield House has been cancelled today, as well as lots of other things, because it's too dangerous to drive. So, yeah, if you're caught up in the storm, just be careful. And, yeah, but, you know, you feel in God's elements. Do you know what I mean? And I'll send to a friend, it just reminds me of the chapters with the plagues of Egypt, with the locusts and the frogs and all this sort of stuff. When you get these kind of really strong element weathers, do you know what I mean? It's like it just feels biblical. It feels biblical. But anyway, yeah, you take care out there, whatever you're doing today. So on with the reading. Give thanks. It's quite a short reading today. Okay, Exodus chapter 20. Blessed love. God spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol, nor any image of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow yourself down to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh, your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and on the fourth generation of those who hate me, and showing loving kindness to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of Yahweh your God, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. You shall labor 6 days, do all your work, but on the seventh day is a Sabbath to Yahweh your God. You shall not do any work in it. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your livestock, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day, and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land which Yahweh your God gives you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's. All the people perceived the thunderings and lightning, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. When the people saw it, they trembled. They stayed at a distance. They said to Moses, speak with us yourself, and we will listen. But don't let God speak to us, lest we die. Moses said to the people, don't be afraid, for God has come to test you, and that his fear may be before you, that you won't sin. The people stayed at a distance, and Moses came near to the thick darkness where God was. Yahweh said to Moses, this is what you shall tell the children of Israel. You yourself have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. You shall most certainly not make gods of silver or gods of gold for yourself to be alongside me. You shall make an altar of earth for me. Let the sacrifice on it be a burnt offering and your peace offerings, your sheep and your cattle. In every place where I record my name, I will come to you and I will bless you. If you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build out of stones. Let me start that sentence again. I apologize. If you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of cut stones. For if you lift up your tool on it, you have polluted it. You shall not go up by steps to my altar. that your nakedness may not be exposed to it. Give thanks, blessed love. Yeah, sorry about that at the ending. So it was about making an altar, but making an altar not of cut stone, and do not have steps to the altar, which is very interesting, to keep the humbleness of the altar with the people. So a very short chapter, but a very powerful chapter, and probably the most famous chapter, possibly one of the most famous chapters anyway in the Bible, and that's the giving of the Ten Commandments to Moses directly by God. And as I said yesterday, the Ten Commandments have been so influential throughout all spheres of society. Arguably, even in non-Christian countries, the Ten Commandments are still incredibly influential. That's not to say other religions don't have their own, sense of right or wrong, but I think the Ten Commandments is such a famous set of rules that it's hard for it not to have had an influence in many other spheres beyond the religious life. It's definitely influential in secular lives. And it's split up into two. You've got the first sections, I think is 1 to 4, which is about how to treat God and that relationship with God. And then the other section, which is about how to treat other people. And yeah, so there's an interesting balance between reverence of God and reverence of others. But with both, it's about treating with respect, with reverence, with love, with honor, and with grace, and with humbleness, really. And when Jesus came back and fulfilled the law, his law was, treat your neighbor as you would have them treat yourself. And that was the fulfillment of the law. But here they are, very strong in its 10 form. So the Ten Commandments is very passionate in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Every single Ethiopian Orthodox Church has an Ark of the Covenant, a replica of the Ark. It's called a Tabot, Tabot, and it's in the Tabot that the replica of the Ten Commandments are held. So every single Ethiopian Orthodox Church has to have a Tabot to be consecrated as a church, but no one is allowed to look inside of the Tabot. It's only the priests and the bishops, etc., that are allowed up in the altar area, which is curtained off, and it's only them that are allowed to be around the Tabot. But even the Tabot itself is covered with a shawl, like a covering, and it's an incredibly sacred central object within the church, which is where everyone faces. And the actual Ten Commandments are in Axum, in the actual Ark of the Covenant, and it's in a church which is guarded by a monk. And again, no one is allowed to see it. And that was brought to Ethiopia by Menelik I, who was the son of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. So the Ten Commandments, which is known as the Covenant, is incredibly central to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and just held in such high regard. But it means so much to all of the Abrahamic religions, but it does have a very special place. I should also at this point mention a book that's just been released by Dr. Alexandra Selassie Antahin, called The Covenant's Veil. And it's all about how the covenant of Ethiopia and how individuals who, within the faith of Ethiopian Orthodox Church, how they manifest that covenant in their kind of daily lives, daily worship, rituals, and how the covenant is, it is diffracted. She uses that word, diffracted, across Ethiopian society, and the diaspora in a very kind of powerful way. So it's a very interesting book. Just came out this week, but I've already been reading it thoroughly. Really interesting. So very short chapter, but very powerful, very, very influential. And there's probably not much more that can be said, really, because so much can be said. As I mentioned yesterday, the strict rules that God was putting on the people about not touching the mountain, and there'd be punishable by death if they touched the mountain and came up the mountain. But as we heard in this chapter, actually people were scared. They didn't want to go anywhere near the mountain because it's so powerful. They heard the thunder and lightning. When God was giving Moses the 10 Commandments, they didn't want to go anywhere near it. And they actually said to Moses, you tell us what God said. We don't want to hear his voice, because if we hear his voice, we're going to drop dead, because we're not going to be able to withstand that power and that energy. And Moses had to reassure him, no, God wants to speak to you, and you will be okay. So let's see what happens tomorrow in chapter 29. God willing, I'll be here to read that. So yeah, extremely powerful, and keep the Sabbath day holy. And there is conversation, there is this, differences. Is the Sabbath on the Saturday? Is the Sabbath on the Sunday? Because if Sunday is the first day of the week, then the Sabbath day is the Saturday, which is how the Jewish community interpret it, whereas the Christian community see Sunday as the Sabbath and the holy day. So, I don't necessarily get too involved in those debates. I think as long as you are, observing God and praising and remember him in your eyesight, if you set aside a day, I don't know. It's up to ones how they do that, really. It's not for me to dictate. But whether the Sabbath day is the Saturday or the Sunday, it's set that you should do that and actually have one day set aside. I have to be honest, even on Sabbath days, I'm still probably sending an odd email and this, that, or the other. So, I don't keep the Sabbath day purely holy, whether it's on a Saturday or Sunday. And I don't think many do that are not in very strict, probably ultra-Orthodox Jewish traditions, keeping it completely not allowed to do anything. If you set down the rules, we observe Sabbath, but actually, how strict is it in terms of not doing any work whatsoever? You're not allowed to cook anything within Jewish Orthodox communities. Really kind of strict in terms of not doing any work whatsoever. Not allowed to press a button on a machine. That's how we're talking. Do you know what I mean? And I have to hold my hands up. That's not me. Do you know what I mean? So you do what you can in this iteration, and you just hope it will be good in the eyesight of the Almighty. So I'll end there. I planned to end 2 minutes ago, so I've kept talking, so I'll end there. But give thanks, blessed day, Malcolm Ken, and stay safe if you're out in this extreme weather. Blessed love. God be the glory.